like reduce the chance that funds get lost, reduce the chance that funds get stolen, just make people feel kind of safer when handling these assets. Things like adding on the capability to have assets in general and to have like this notion of permanent ownership.
Real estate that's super interesting to me is a lot of real estate that performs well is expensive, and most people can't participate. The moment you tokenize it, anybody can participate. Anybody can put 5% of their savings in a $100 million property. And that's it's an extraordinary change. And liquidity of real estate markets is going to change forever once this starts happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think in real estate specifically, right? Like the non-fungibility of it is like, in many ways, you can see it as like as a source of just a huge number of problems, right? Because like, if you live in a city today, you're either a homeowner, in which case you're just massively overexposed to one asset, or you're a renter, in which case you're negatively exposed to that asset. And you're even, like, you could say negatively exposed to like basically your community being a good place to live, right? So like giving people access to options that are kind of in between those two extremes on that spectrum, like partial ownership, some kind of system where ownership builds up over time. Using crypto loans to be able to actually facilitate that. I think there's lots of opportunities for really cool things to happen there.
The other thing that you mentioned that is coming fast on the scene, and everybody's trying to figure this out, are DAOs. How are you thinking about DAOs, and how effective are they going to be? What format are they going to take? I mean, there's a lot of experimentation going on. It feels that sometimes it's difficult to have such a broad ownership of projects because without a specific leader, we're trying to figure out how this is all going to work. How do you see the evolution of DAOs, and how are you framing it yourself right now?
Sure. I think I view this stuff as being like DAOs and smart contracts as being like Lego for governance. Right, like it basically just like is this platform that makes it really easy for people to tinker, for people to come up with new and different constructions, and that's not something that's really been available for people before, right? Like right now, if you want to create an organization, like you have to pay lawyers a huge amount in order to do it, and like that just costs tens of thousands of dollars. It costs a lot of delays. And if instead, like you create something that's just really turnkey, and it really reduces the cost for people to do those kinds of things, then like I think we could easily see organizations become a lot less standardized. There'd be a lot more different kinds of them that are tailored to different kinds of situations. More small-scale flash organizations, so just things that exist only for a couple of months or only for a very specific purpose, even with a very small amount of money in them. So I don't see one kind of dominating use case. I just see it opening up the floodgates for 1,000 different experiments.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm seeing that's really interesting is the fund management industry is now being crowdsourced based around a DAO, and as you say, the cost is so minimal to set these things up that it's hugely disruptive for this very traditional business of managing money.
Absolutely, it is.
So how are you thinking about the other thing is all of this feels like that this is all the building blocks for what we're referring to as Web 3.0. Now, everybody's got their own definition of that, like everybody's got their own definition of the metaverse. What is your definition of Web 3.0, your working definition? Because it will change over time, as everybody's does. How far are we in this process?
So I think, Web 3.0 is obviously a very big term. I think there's a lot of different things that different people are excited about. Like there's people who are excited about, like, say, creating more decentralized forms of, like, say, social media that might have more open and transparent governance, creating ways like some kind of better integration between internet applications and the finance layer, or just like adding on the capability to have assets in general and to have like this notion of permanent ownership, kind of that's not dependent on some single institution facilitating it, being like a much more base part of the internet. There's obviously just kind of the DeFi vision itself, different ways for people to monetize. Like there's all these different things that people want to do. And I mean, Web3 is definitely a very big umbrella term that covers all of these things, which I think is okay, right? I mean, I think, there is a big revolution happening here, right? There's there are these technologies. I mean, I think like not just blockchains, zero knowledge proofs are also a really big and important one. And these technologies are, doing a really important job of making it possible to do all of these things that were not possible before, solving trust problems, allowing more collaboration without central trust points to happen. And lots of people have like lots of different opinions, visions, and dreams about what kinds of things could and should be done with those ideas, which I think is amazing. So yeah,
I think one of the key things missing from all of this still, I think, is the wallet experience, the kind of ubiquitous wallet experience. And the other thing is that zero knowledge proof identity layer that I think we need for the internet, that many of us share this idea that we shouldn't give all of our information to everybody. And I think many people's vision of Web 3.0 is that we hold our own data. And if we want to sell our data, we can. How far is this along from before we get to that usability where we get the digital identity and wallets that are not so difficult to set up?
Sure. I mean, I think in practice, the biggest usability challenge at this point is just the transaction fees, right? And like layer 2 protocols are the solution to that, right? Like, in Ethereum lands, we have Optimism, Arbitrum, Polygon, increasingly the zero knowledge family. So I think it's like all of these, it's great that all these things are happening. But and I think once that happens, then like the biggest practical usability problem that's in front of users today, like basically disappears. There are other usability problems too. Like I think the other really big one is the fact that most people are not really set up well to fully manage their existing cryptocurrency wallets and make sure they don't lose all of these digital assets. Like we're basically talking about potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars that are under the control of a cryptographic key, right? And that's not really a model that people are necessarily used to in a world where most valuable things are things where if people go wrong, you can, go and talk to the bank, or you can go and talk to the court or the police or whoever else, and they'll figure things out. But there are solutions in the crypto space that are they're trying to solve the problem and reduce the chance that funds get lost, reduce the chance that funds get stolen, just make people feel safer when handling these assets. Things like social recovery wallets, multi-sig wallets, different kind of hybrid institutional forms of custody where some institution can help serve as a backup without that institution actually having the ability to or without that institution having the ability to control that asset completely. So there's a lot of important work being done in those areas as well. But I think, all of these problems are going to just slowly start to get solved over the next couple of years. And so I'm really excited about that.